Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video of Gundam Breaker 4, part of our build series. And so today, we're going to be going over this guy. And this particular build, I have dubbed the Rolling Gundam, because when I originally started designing it, I wanted to design it specifically around these long-range weapons, the Twin Buster Rifles of the Proto Zero from the Wing Zero series, and specifically kind of around this rolling Buster Rifle attack that it had, because I thought it looked cool, and so yeah, that's mostly what we kind of decided to go around. So, to go over everything, the head is the Gundam Live Lance Heaven head, just because I thought it looked nice. Love the little helmet design it has to it. The body is the Gundam Exia. The right arm is of the Gundam H2 Double Bullet, so is the left arm, because you had to use them both in order to make use of their EX skills, and I thought they were very nice. The legs is also Gundam Live Lance Heaven. The backpack is the Strike Freedom Gundam. As I said, we have these guns. We're just rocking more melee on this one. We have our shield turned off, but it is the same one. Oh, sorry. It is the one that I used in the main playthrough on the Raven Gundam. And then builder parts. I have these railguns here, an I field generator, slash disc, and a GN field generator. And as you can see, we're rocking the full burst EX. Both of the skills off the arms. The rolling Buster Rifle EX and Super Dragoon. So everything that we're using is actually equipped on here. No mastered skills are being used. This is mastered because of it coming off of the Strike Freedom, and I'd had it because I wanted to make use of it later. And with these, I have them grouped. So I have two of them on my X button, two of them on my B button, all four grouped up onto Y for if I want to do big damage with them. And then I have these two slash disc paired up on A. And I just have my GN field and my I field down here. Now then, the ability cartridges is where a lot of my quality is kind of coming from in this. That's seemingly where how a lot of like builds are going to be really defined or like refined and built in. So this is just boosting up my HP to max. And then we have cost down gauge, so I can fire my guns more often. And then I got some attack power, some skill cooldown reduction, and more power and ground break. And it's just kind of a bit of a quality ranged build is sort of what I built it around to be. And in particular, I wanted to more so focus on just using the actual guns in this than to be trying to use any of the EX skills. Like it's not meant to be like a spam oriented build. Like you can tell, especially compared to the other video, lot longer cooldown on these abilities. And so the only one that's really going to be being used heavily or quickly is going to be those discs, that's because they have such a lower cooldown. So it's going to be focusing a lot more on just actually shooting the enemies with the gun. And when I was originally designing this, I thought about trying to design it in a way that I could basically just like infinitely fire these things, but I decided that it was better to do more quality than to just be like, haha, infinite long rifle blasting. And so yeah, that's more or less how things ended up being developed and progressed forward and all that. And so, as per usual, we're now going to go take it onto a new type difficulty mission and show that it is in fact good. And so, also just gives me a good excuse to keep grinding through all these missions to do them all on Newtype anyway. And we'll use a booster because why not? And so yeah, like you can see, it does pretty good damage. And so especially if you go and... So, if you don't know, the disc that I'm using here, they actually have a feature that whenever you shoot something with it, that thing then proceeds to take more damage for a bit of time. And so, it's actually a very good thing to pair up with anything, really. Just because you get that additional bit of damage. And more damage will literally never do you any harm. And yes, technically in some instances, I'm much better off just actually just shoot here and not shoot them in their long rifle style, just to shoot them as the regular old bullets, but I like to do the long rifle because I think it's much more dramatic and looks cool. That's literally the only reason. It's like, you know, take this guy here, shoot him. Oh, I managed to let myself get run out of energy on him. Oh, here we go. Here will be a good example. So, do this, and then shoot them with the burst of all 4 guns. If you get stunned, you can run up there and finish them. Easy peasy. Alright, buddy. But, yeah. Just a nice little quality little build. Definitely not as crazy as the Tri-Blade build, but still very good. I mean, you can tell we're getting perfectly fine clear times and all that. And, you know, while it is built around being a long-range specialist, you know, there's nothing stopping you from just coming up in melee. That is the beauty of melee, in my opinion. It's just it will always be a good pairing with anything that you're doing. It will never be a bad idea to have a melee add-on option. And, you know, like I say, we built it entirely around using this skill, and while I do like to use it, it's honestly not very good, actually. But I do still like to use it, so I do. And then, funny burst skill. It can be a little bit weird about wanting to hit from time to time, I feel like, personally. But it is what it is. So yeah, very good at just taking out little dudes like that, because I really like the long rifles because they will go and specifically, like, hit multiple of the smaller enemies, and I just like it. And one thing that is a little bit, I guess, built differently about this than, like, what necessarily could be considered best or optimal or whatever, is that I have a relatively high reaction speed, and that technically does make long rifles and other beam blasting weapons worse. However, I don't think that the difference of the damage you get out for with your beams is adequately balanced out for how much different quality you get when you then just, like, have to slow down everything else that you're doing, it just doesn't strike me as a balance. A worthwhile trade-off, or might be the best way to phrase it. And so, you know, depending on how you want to look at it, you could say that this is the better or worse way to be actually using this build. So, funny bit of subjectivity there. Hey, you should regenerate your body so I can hit you more. Yeah, I didn't figure that was going to be a very good option, but I tried it. Perfect grades really are kind of funny about what in the heck was that thing aiming at? Anyway, perfect grades are very funny about what they want to take good damage from in this game. Actually, you know what? It's down. Let's see if we can't. Yeah, see. Because that should be doing a lot more damage, I feel like. But I can't decide if it's not doing it as much because it is missing, or if I'm just overestimating it, or what really the case is. But it seems off. Well, yeah, we managed to get S ranked on the time, so not too bad, not too bad.
We did it.
Normally I say sort through these, but I ain't really worried about it for this. I have enough I need to already sort through anyway. It won't really matter if I have a few more. Now then, to actually go over the full specs of everything as far as what is making this all work. So, with our head, it's kind of just a standard head. It has good HP, reaction speed, item drop quality. You can obviously drop that off later if you're looking for a pure performance. I just like to keep the quality and the drop rates and all that on there because now reduction time of charge is doing nothing on this build. It can be replaced with anything, but if you're using something like an axe or a katana or a greatsword, anything that does charge, it'd be better to have that on there. Which I'm using this head on another build that is making use of charge, and that's the main reason it's on here. That skill's on here, because this just stole that head, is what happened there. Now then, the exit body. Again, HP, some way to recover HP, always good. Thruster gauge consumption is the main thing that is warranted on this build, just because you need to be moving around some. And the name of the HP is actually something I'm experimenting on, and so it has no variance on the build. This, however, does. So the HP is always obviously good. The awaken gauge increasing on parts loss is good. Same deal with, anything that's increasing awaken gauge is always good, because I just enjoy the buff it gives me. That's just the way I personally like to play things. I like to be in hyper trance and awaken as much as I possibly can, and that's what a lot of my builds revolve around. You know, same thing here. Work fast. With our legs, we got more charge time because the other build that is involved there. I'll be showing you guys that here relatively soon. The backpack is actually something that I threw together today because I realized I had not actually synthesized all the proper parts needed onto it. But it really does mostly boil down to thruster gauge capacity and HP. That's mostly what they're good for. Now, the stuff that actually is important is all on the long rifle components. So, the biggest things here is the Beam Blast EX and the long range skills and all that. All the damage is coming from here. So, the gauge cost, but the main thing is the attack power and of long range weapons and weaponry in general, and the Beam Blast, because most of the skills I was using were Beam Blast related skills, and so I gave them priority on being boosted. Now, same thing with this left one, even more Beam Blast is being added on here. It's not maxed out as you can see, but, you know, just further think of, like, if it can work this good without being fully, properly built, then just all the more you can do to it if you did put all the stuff into it. Close range here, this is just the standard melee thing that I've shown off before, but in case it's the first time you're watching, yeah, here you go. Which, I mean, honestly with melee, a lot of it, you can just have it, and the melee itself is going to be good for you because of its high damage output and how rapidly you can output damage with it. And lastly, the shield. Again, more health, more gauge-related things, flinch and guard capacities, always very good. And let's say build-up parts. We have our railguns. Now, originally I put the railguns on here because I was curious if they would work with the beam weapon and railguns here of full burst. They do not. They don't add anything to it. The only thing that will add to full burst, it seems, is components that are actually built into the Gunpla. So anything that is part of your arms, legs, chest, head, guns, any of that. Possibly even a shield if there is anything that meets those qualifications. But I don't think there is. I don't think there's any beam weaponry. Actually, I think there's a shield that has a beam on. Anyway, the point being, that is where, you know, what you're doing. And so, like I say, these things shock enemy and make them, these lower enemy defense for a short period of time. That's what lets you get those little bits of burst of extra damage in there. And yeah, that's mostly what the build is. So, kind of a more or less, it's a much simpler explanation build with this particular one because it's mostly just shoot guns. And if you have EX gauge, use it how you like it. And yeah. So go out there, have fun, keep building. And if you like what we're doing, stay tuned for even more. Be sure to like, comment, and if you really like it, you can subscribe. But yeah, be sure to let me know if you guys want to see anything else in the future. And just as a little sneak peek here, I'll give you just a look-see at what is in the works for the next one. So, as I said, this was the Rolling Gundam. And up next, you can look forward to seeing the Libra Gundam. But that's a surprise for next time. So, without further ado, I will see you all in that next one. Bye-bye.